This past week, 26 members of this congregation went to General Assembly. 26. I think it helped that it was in Baltimore. General Assembly is our gathering of congregations that happens every year online and in person, or in person. GA, as it is affectionately called, is certainly designed to bring together the association for governance, to share ideas and best practices, and generally have a chance to meet and talk with UUs from across the country and actually around the world. This was my 18th General Assembly. As I first reflected on this year's experience, this is what I wrote. With no big controversial insider UU thing going on at this year's General Assembly, I'm finding my experience is deeply related to what has been happening all year in my congregation. The need for human connection. Sure, the regular trappings are here: polity, workshops, walking, lots of walking, but the pure and simple act of seeing the faces and getting the hugs is what is filling me this year with joy and sustenance for the moment. Isolation is so destructive. It just feels like one of our primary religious purposes right now is to be together. Now that may sound all warm and fuzzy, but in further reflection, it's not just my mushy desire to give and get hugs and to avoid the rulings of the Supreme Court and the general state of the world. It's actually a vital and incredibly needed strategy for this moment in time. As we experience the ethical and moral decay of our institutions, as we feel the impact of the masked kidnappers snatching people off the streets in the name of the state, it is possible to want to hide under the covers. But something worse than that, it is also possible to become jaded and pounded into believing that this is the new normal. It isn't, and it can't ever be that way. This is why I'm such a deep believer that our congregations, both individually and collectively, must demonstrate that when the official systems of our country are so unhealthy, we must be places that model healthy systems. And when thinking about modeling healthy systems, I couldn't help but return to what our good friend, the Reverend Nancy MacDonald Ladd, preached in her sermon at GA in 2016. Here's part of what she said. The collective wisdom of the ages reminds us that the stakes are high and the ultimate prize we must reach out for in community is greater than the imagined divisions and trumped up arguments that pull us apart. Then she wrote, here's a segue you won't see coming. You know, in WrestleMania, when professional wrestlers have those fake fights, sometimes they are really at risk of getting hurt. And do you know what they do before the muscle snaps or the bone breaks in that fake fight? They tap out. They bang the mat. And when the fake fight gets close to having real consequences, they tap out. Then she said, I'll tell you what, I'm tapping out right now. And I invite you to join me. I'm tapping out over every fake fight in our congregations and our movement about getting what I want or what you want or what we think we want, because the stakes are too high and we don't have time for fake fights anymore. She went on to say, I know for a fact that the real conversations are waiting. Just beneath the surface of the fake fight is an actual encounter, soul to soul and hand to hand, in which change is possible. So she continued, let's have that conversation, the real one, the hard one, the one that requires us to keep showing up. And let's do it with edge and forgiveness, calling out, calling in, calling forth a new kind of community, both in our congregations and in the world. I return to this sermon because although I am so grateful for the systemic health of this congregation, I am so grateful for that. Reverend Nancy's sermon reminds us the real fight beckons. The real conversation about our history, our identity, our relevance, and our resistance. What the world needs now is a movement like ours to step more fully into a higher calling, to serve as an instrument for encounter with one another, with the holy and the world, so that we might love more fully and speak more truly and serve with greater efficacy. Although she wrote that in 2016, how true is that for this moment in history? I know that there are a lot of forces trying to drive us apart. I guess what I'm saying is that there's a big difference between spending our time reacting to those forces or truly identifying what we deeply value and then doing what we can to help affirm and promote that and the conversation, the real one, the hard one, the one that requires us to keep showing up and calling forth a new kind of community, both in our congregations and in the world. Who knows? We do know that those people trying to pull us apart are loud and seem to dominate the conversation. My question, knowing that, in a time when finding hope can be a challenge, is it is so important to reflect on where we are going and what we're doing moving forward, to have our values and our voices truly influencing whatever comes next. And is that something we can do? The Reverend Dr. Nicole Kirk, who gave the Sunday morning sermon at this year's GA, started it this way. Volatile markets, a trade war, controversy over citizenship, foreign interventions, business closing, economic turmoil, global uncertainty. 1815 was a pivotal year for the United States. It was a worthy reminder that we have and will continue to face threats to the imperfect system whose ideals we strive to uphold. Now, with all that said, how can we not feel this in our bodies, in our emotions, in our hearts? This is not just an intellectual exercise. This is something where when we read or hear the news, it can literally drain the energy from our body. This is where, yes, working on making and keeping our congregational systems healthy are important because they're an antidote to ethical and moral decay. Also, the real work of these days is to help each other to not give up on love. To not give up on love. It's another primary reason to gather in this community, whether locally or with over 3,000 Unitarian Universalists in Baltimore last week. We are here to remind each other that there is too much beauty in this world to give up on it yet. And it's always too soon to give into cynicism. That we want to bring our doubt and our skepticism, our downright confusion, and yes, even our bitterness. We want that because we need a healthy place to help us face all that the world is right now. And also help us to remember that in the midst of all of these, in the center, we still need to wrap our tender fingers around that bright thread of hope. As we can't help but feel in our hearts that still, that steady hunger for something more is the vision we glimpse every day in the rising sun and the light that spreads across the face of the one we love. For the look of knowing all there is to know and still loving life, loving us just as it is and just as we are. This August, we are going to launch a social media campaign titled, "In Times of Great Unknown, You Can Be Known." We want for those who are needing a community in these hard times to know that they can find a place with others of like hearts, because gratefully this healthy congregation does try to live up to the words on the UUCF website that say, "What does it mean to be seen in love for who you are? What does it mean when politics and culture of the day fight over who you are and who you love? What does it mean to have a safe and brave space to land, to connect, and to be loved?" At the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Fairfax, you will be seen, loved, and welcomed for who you are. This faith community embraces each individual as whole and holy, deserving of love, worthy of respect, and possessing inherent dignity. And this is especially true for those feeling targeted by politics and theologies of fear and othering. UUCF is not perfect, my friends, or the only space for you to find your sense of belonging, but we are here reaching out and pledging to practice a faith of inclusion, empathy, and as much as possible, love. May we keep doing that, and may that be so. Amen.